Hello guys, how are you doing? Well, I expect you're doing pretty well after that. Newcastle 1, Arsenal 2. So much to discuss from that game, but a huge moment in Arsenal's season, in the title race as well. Gabriel climbing high in stoppage time to win it late. What a weekend this has been for Arsenal. Got off to a great start on Saturday lunchtime with Man United getting beat. They might not be a competitor of ours in the league anymore, but they're an old rival and always fantastic to see them lose. Chelsea were beaten at home by Brighton. Liverpool beaten late on. Eddie Nketiah with the winner for Crystal Palace. That was a late swing in that game. It looked like Newcastle had pegged Palace back for a point. But Nketiah was there to nick the winner. And then, of course, I think Spurs dropped points as well at home. Thomas Frank. And then today, right? Arsenal snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. Massive moment. And I think probably just what Arsenal needed to kickstart their season, to ignite their title challenge. And I think they deserved it. I think they deserved it today. I promise you this, if Arsenal had lost, if that scoreline had stayed at 1-0 to Newcastle, I would still have come on here and said that was a better performance than we've seen from Arsenal in many games this season. I really strongly felt that. I know, it's easy to say after the fact, but I thought what Arsenal produced at St James's was better than what they produced at Anfield, at Old Trafford. I thought this was a performance on another level. I thought it was better even than what they produced at home to Man City. And, Newcastle aren't necessarily Man City. But I thought the intent, the positivity, the initiative that Arsenal showed was much, much better. I have to be honest and say, without wishing to make it about one player, I think the inclusion of Eze in the middle of the pitch is transformative for this team. I know he can play on the left, and doubtless he will play on the left plenty between now and the end of the season. But in that central area today, I thought he was a different class, really. I thought he brought an inventiveness, a threat level, a willingness to shoot that Arsenal lack. There was one really nice moment which produced a brilliant save from Pope where he took the ball. It was almost behind him and he controlled it on his right foot, fired off a shot on his left, which Pope did brilliantly to save. Another really nice moment where he slipped in Gyökeres, but Gyökeres lost his footing as he took the shot on. I thought so much of what Eze did, so much of the good that Arsenal did involved Eze. Even the penalty, which was overturned ultimately, came from a forward pass from Eze, not unlike the one he produced against Man City. Early, over the top, giving Arsenal's players, their forwards, something to run onto. I think we found something in the last 100 minutes today, and the 20 minutes or so he played against, was it half an hour? No, 45 minutes, and the 45 minutes he played against Man City, that game and a half, we have really found something because he adds a new dimension to this team. What else to talk about? Let's talk about the penalty appeal or penalty award that was overturned. I'm so glad it's not going to be this massive story now. It feels like every time we go to St James's there's some sort of controversy, and this was the big one from this game. Gyökeres goes through, gets onto the back pass, shows good anticipation to get there. At first viewing seems to have gone round, Pope been brought down, penalty awarded. Now replays show that Pope gets a touch on the ball. I think most people feel that it should still be a penalty, that Gyökeres is impeded despite Pope getting a nick on the ball. I think if it's a centre-half and they slide in and they get a touch on the ball, the penalty's overturned. I think because it's last man, because it's goalkeeper, puts a slightly different prism on it. I remember when things happen to Arsenal, a lot of the time we say, we've never seen this happen before. I remember seeing this before. A very similar instance at Turf Moor, Arsenal away at Burnley. It was Aaron Ramsdale right at the start of his Arsenal career. Gave away a penalty in similar fashion, sticking out a leg. Ashley Barnes, maybe it was, who went down, sort of tumbled over the leg. Penalty was given, and then a VAR review showed that Ramsdale had got a toe on the ball, and the penalty was rescinded. So I think there is precedent for these instances. I understand the feeling of it feeling like a miscarriage of justice, especially when it's been given and you think they're going to be reviewing a possible red card. Then you go from that. And Pope had a very good game in some respects, made a lot of good saves. I think it would have been a big loss to Newcastle. Stays on the field and the penalty gets overturned. I can understand the sense of injustice that many Arsenal fans will have felt. I think, for me, I don't know the laws inside out. You can read Dale Johnson to find out if that should or shouldn't be a penalty. But it was certainly a marginal call, certainly a big call to overturn, and definitely a swing moment in the game. Arsenal had started brilliantly, I thought. First 10 minutes were exceptional. Newcastle then came back into it. They threatened on set pieces. They're probably the only team in the league who's bigger than us, especially with Voltemade now in there. Eventually they get their goal. Arsenal wanted a foul on Gabriel. I don't think that was. I don't think that is a push in the back. I think Gabriel has to do better there. But don't worry, redemption was coming for him. Despite being 1-0 down, I thought there was a lot that was encouraging about that first half display. I thought Julian Timber was doing a really nice job on Anthony Gordon, for example. I thought Eze was pulling the strings and looked a threat. He was playing more as a 10. He plays more as a 10 than Odegaard, who's more of a number 8. And it meant at times that the shape looked more like a kind of 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-1-1. He was supporting Gyökeres. He was playing closer to him, and I found that really interesting and exciting. I think that in turn created a bit more space for Saka, a bit more space for Trossard. Rice was a bit deeper, yes, but I think there was a good balance to what we were doing. Newcastle get their goal. Mosquera started the game. He made a mistake here, went for a back pass that probably wasn't on. I think he played it off his left foot and it went behind for a corner. Listen, it happens. It happens to Saliba, it happens to Gabriel, it happens to everybody. I'm not going to kill him for that. I think we could have been stronger on the corner, but there you go. Comes back in and Voltemade scores. And the second half, I don't think we were great. I've got to be honest about that. I thought first half we were very good. Second half, I thought we were generally less good. And as it got to kind of the last 15 minutes, I didn't really see where it was coming from. I felt like Arsenal's ideas had kind of petered out, and some of the changes had me scratching my head. Couldn't quite work out who was playing left back, who was playing centre half. Credit to Arteta. I mean, he was going for it. He left a lot of attacking players on, as he did against City last week. I think that's another encouraging sign. The equaliser is just a brilliant piece of play. Declan Rice, outstanding cross. Mikel Merino, outstanding header. I mean, there's few better than Mikel Merino at that. There's few better at Declan Rice than those deliveries. Whipped in, brilliant flicked header. Massive impact of Merino from the bench. He's almost like a kind of Gus Poyet, Tim Cahill. There's a history of midfield players who were able to get on the end of crosses and head the ball in the Premier League, and he's showing himself to be, I think, in that calibre. His timing is exceptional, and his technique is also very, very, very good. So it goes to 1-1. Newcastle want a penalty at the other end. I think it was correct that wasn't given. Gabriel, his hand wasn't in an awkward position, but he himself, I think, deflected the ball onto his hand. I think Pope had a really good game between the sticks, making saves. I think his distribution let him down a bit, have to be honest. And there was a couple of moments in the last 10 minutes of the game where he was sort of looking for counter-attacks that weren't really on, and the ball was just coming back at Newcastle time and time again. And eventually the pressure told, and it was a corner. Martin Odegaard, another sub, who came on and played deep. Really interesting. I speak about Eze and how influential I thought he was, how much he improved us. When Odegaard came on, it looked like he was playing as number 6. I think he came on for Zubamendi and practically played that position. Rice at this time was playing, I think, almost out of the back 3 or 4, almost as an auxiliary defender. But Odegaard whips the corner in. Gabriel, how many times has he done it? Rises highest, above Pope, above the centre halves. above the likes of Dan Burn, who's several inches taller, powers home the header, and it's a huge moment for Arsenal that will instill belief, confidence, happiness in the group. And they can look at where they are at this point in the time now, just 2 points off Liverpool. Coming into the weekend, it looked like it could be 8. It really did. This was a hard game. And let's be clear, Liverpool very nearly got something at Palace. We very nearly got beat at Newcastle. The margins are so fine. This weekend, they've gone in our favour, and I think deservedly so. I think we played to win at St James's. We played to close that gap, and we achieved it. So I want to see more of that. And we've got St James's out the way, Old Trafford out the way, Anfield out the way. I think we've got a very creditable return. I think 3 points here certainly makes up for the 2 potentially drops at home to City. So I think Arsenal have come through a very difficult start in very good shape, and with players coming back, perhaps getting stronger. Really, really good day. I mean, I'll finish on this. A few people have been asking me. They said around this time last season, I was saying in videos and on podcasts, I just kind of had the feeling it wasn't going to be our year, that things weren't necessarily going Arsenal's way. How do I feel about that now? And again, I think I would say this: win, lose or draw today. It's obviously, again, easier to say after a win, and I'll sound less like I'm mad, but I don't see right now a reason that Arsenal cannot win the league. I think after last summer's window, I just looked at the business and felt very underwhelmed and felt like the squad had an unfinished look to it. This time I think there's so much depth, so much quality and so much variety. And when you look at the players who are coming off the bench to make an impact, I'm thinking of Marino, Odegaard today, William Saliba came off the bench today, Miles Lewis-Skelly, an England international now, Ethan Nwaneri not even in the squad today. A fairly controversial omission, I would say, with Max Dowman there in his stead. But I think Mikel Arteta's got a ton of options at his disposal now, and they're coming up trumps for him. So I'm not saying Arsenal are going to do it, but I'm saying that certainly compared to a year ago, I feel they're infinitely better equipped to do it. And I think Liverpool, they've claimed a lot of points late on. They've snatched a lot of points. Credit to them, because that shows, I think, a mental strength. But it's also something they've needed to do. They've not been composed, controlled, dominant in the way that you might expect. And Arsenal are showing that mental strength too now, of finding those late goals, finding those big moments. And you won't find many bigger than that Gabriel winner today. I'll leave it there for now, guys. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe if you enjoy the videos regularly. And I'll speak to you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.